I'm starting an indie music review show, so I figured I might as well be dressed like Scott Pilgrim. Just cause. Hello there, and welcome to Low Fidelity. My name is Connor Clang, and I will be your host today. Also, all other days, it's my show. Low Fidelity is a review show in which I review new music, particularly new independent music, but I'll review anything, pretty much. I'll review, like, socks. Today I'm going to review... Wait, I have a title card. I'll let the title card tell you what I'm going to review, and then I'll review it. Get. Cute title card. Phoenix released their first album in 2000, but it would be almost a decade before they got any actual commercial or critical success. Sure, their first 3 albums got a lot of good reviews and are very good albums, but they didn't really get listened to by people who weren't huge fans of French indie pop in the first place. But all of that changed when they released Wolfgang Amadeus Phoenix, their best album yet and the one that got them the critical attention that they deserved. The album sold incredibly well, and it ended up on many critics' top 10 lists for the year, and Phoenix enjoyed a lot of success because of it. The reason Wolfgang Amadeus Phoenix was so popular was because it was so accessible. Every song had really simple production that just showcased the really good pop songwriting behind all of them. And the band had a tendency to write really catchy hooks that you could sing along with confidently despite not knowing at all what they mean. Listen, mania, the glance would see it grow, like a ride, oh! Not easily offended, gotta let it go. From as to masses, it's 20 seconds till the last go. You're going, hey, lying down, you know it's easy, like we did it over summer long. Where would you go? Where did you go with that so? Could you run into? Could you run into? Could you go and run into me? Fold it, fold it, fold it, fold it. Fold it, fold it, fold it, fold it. It took them a really long time to make a follow-up album, and they sort of disappeared for a couple years. But then they rose like an animal that rises sometimes. Like a phoenix. It's a joke on the name Phoenix. And then all of a sudden, Phoenix were as big as they ever were. They headlined Coachella, they played with R. Kelly, which was weird, and they announced that they had a new album named Bankrupt! Or just Bankrupt if you don't want to pronounce the exclamation point, but I like pronouncing the exclamation point, so I call it Bankrupt! And I was really excited for this album because I wanted to hear more of their really catchy melodies and the really simple production that shows their really good songwriting process. And then Bankrupt came out, and it doesn't have any of those things. Those catchy, incredibly singable choruses are now nowhere to be found, and the simple production that really showcased how good their songwriting gifts are isn't there anymore. Well, the songs on Wolfgang Amadeus Phoenix were really simple and showed off their melodic gifts so well. The songs on Bankrupt are a lot more complicated and don't showcase that as much. There's much less audible guitar on this album either. It's replaced with a dense fleet of keyboards, which makes it so that there's always something new to listen to every time you hear a track, but it also makes it so that this album as a whole is 80s as fuck! Which isn't to say that Bankrupt is a bad album, because it isn't. It's just good in a different way than Wolfgang Amadeus Phoenix was. And for people expecting the same thing again, it's entirely different. The songs on this album aren't quite as memorable as the ones on Wolfgang were, because they don't have the impossibly catchy hooks that Phoenix showed there, but there are a lot of really good songs on it. For instance, SOS in Bel Air is filled with energy. It's a really good pump-up song, and has this nice driving rhythm and a pre-chorus part that's just like one of the best moments on the album. Chloroform is an almost slow jam-like song in which vocalist Thomas Marr sings about how cruel his love is, in a way that definitely paints him as a bad person, but is also, like, kind of sexy? A little bit. And while the song generally lacks really good choruses, it does have one in the song Bourgeois, which is my favorite song off the album and one of my favorite Phoenix songs to date. It's just really, really well made. But it does have a few missteps, too. Lead single and opening track Entertainment is an attempt for them to try to recreate their Wolfgang sound, but it just sounds really, like, unmemorable and bland and ugh. The song sounds like Phoenix trying to become a stadium rock band, which I don't want for them, because it's not a good sound for them. And the title track is a 9-minute, mostly instrumental piece that just sounds like them playing around with synthesizers for a while, and it entirely kills whatever momentum the album would have. And if it wasn't there, I think I'd probably have a much better view of it as a whole. The lyrics are generally no more understandable than the rest of Phoenix's work, but they're filled with all these images of 80s excess and violence and men being evil. And they fit together with the 80s like synthesizers that the album employs to make an album that sounds really greedy and like backroom, people doing cocaine off of strippers, you know, that sort of thing. All in all, Bankrupt is a really interesting album. It's a really good album, not as good as their previous work, but still an interesting album. It's worth a listen. If you're new to Phoenix and have no idea who they are, I wouldn't start here. I would start by listening to Wolfgang Amadeus Phoenix, because that album is like near perfect, but this one is really good for Phoenix fans who just want to hear more of them. So yeah, Bankrupt. It's pretty good. You should listen to it if you like Phoenix, and if you don't, maybe not, but still a good album. I don't know how to end videos, but I'm Connor Clang, and tune in for more episodes of Low Fidelity later on. Take care. Where did you go? Where did you go with that so? Could you run into, could you run into, could you go and run into me? Where did you go? Where did you go? Did I do a lasso? Could you run into, could you run into, could you go and run into me? That's the best take ever.